What's going on, everybody? This is episode number 2 of Data with Peachey. Last week's episode was fantastic. Everybody seemed to really love it. And I just happened to have a little bit of a free time here on Sunday. I'm actually recording this on Sunday, a couple days before this thing comes out. Last week's episode, what did we talk about? Last week, we talked about what this podcast was going to be. Again, lighthearted approach to the world of data. And then I dove straight into like, what is a data governance and policy, standards, procedures. And then I teased at the very end or halfway through that episode, I talked about, the different roles and responsibilities. And one thing that I see constantly all the time is a really crazy look at a ton of different roles and responsibilities as a part of a data stewardship. So let me just go ahead and set the expectation right out of the gate. I'm going to talk about data stewardship, and it's not just made up of data stewards. We will talk about what a data steward is, but what I want to make sure that people understand is when I am referring to the concept of a data stewardship, I am talking about the totality, the holistic view that is all of the different roles that make up a robust stewardship. I'm talking about data owners. I'm talking about data custodians. I'm talking about data engineers, data analysts, obviously a chief data officer, talking about business data stewards, maybe custodians. There's a lot of different things that I see a lot of different people call these different roles and responsibilities. So I'm just going to give you a flavor of what could be out there. Play at your own risk kind of situation. There is no one way to do all of this. The roles that I'm going to come up with are roles that I have seen in previous roles that I've been in or previous companies or anything like that. I'm just giving you kind of what I've seen in my particular space being where I'm at today. So I'm going to look at a data steward in two different ways. I'm going to look at it from the business data steward lens and the technical data steward lens. Sometimes I have seen a technical data steward be known as a data custodian. I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. We'll talk about what the different responsibilities are for each role. Now, a business data steward is somebody who's responsible for kind of the overall management of the data assets within a very specific business domain or business function. When you think about it from an HR perspective, like HR would have things like retention rates and different metrics or different critical data elements. And we'll talk about critical data elements in another episode specific to HR. That's what a business data steward would have. Now, on the other side, you have the technical data steward, and that technical data steward, or sometimes called a data custodian in some instances, is someone who's responsible for more of the technical implementation of the maintenance of the data. So think somebody about in technology, somebody in your IT department that makes sure that the data pipelines are connected the way that they should be, but also doing those data pipeline checks from a quality perspective that are just kind of the table stakes data quality issues that you see. Like, did the data arrive whole? Did the data arrive blank? Did the data arrive at all? That's going to be something that the technical data steward really should have in their roles and responsibilities. And that's where I separate the two between technical data steward and business data steward. Again, the business data steward is going to be more on the business side, defining the data definitions, defining what really critical business metadata is out there, maybe pulling data lineage from a business process perspective. The business data steward is also going to define data profiling and the data quality rules. Again, quality rules specific to what the business expectations are for their particular data elements. The business data steward is also going to work typically in conjunction with an enterprise data office or some sort of enterprise data something. There are business process owners. That's another member that's really critical to the overall data stewardship perspective. It's like a business process owner. These are real high-level business people specifically in their respective departments. So think different data domains depending on the industry that you're in. It could be finance department, HR department, risk. In some industries, it could be, insurance or anything like that. Those business process owners are going to be critical to the stewardship as well. They are the ones who kind of oversee, have the accountability of all the different business data stewards overall about the roles and responsibilities of those particular individuals. It doesn't necessarily mean the data stewards report to the business process owner for their particular area, but there is accountability that should be assigned from a dotted line perspective to make sure that the entire domain's data is focused up to that one key executive. Sometimes the business process owner is referred to as a data owner overall. Again, the key when it comes to a business process owner or a data owner is those high level executives that are responsible ultimately for the quality, the health, and the value of the specific data in question. So think about head of sales owns customer data. That would be the really key area for that particular business, that key executive. Now they're going to have a bunch of different business data stewards and technical data stewards that they're going to have to tap into from a robust network perspective to make sure that customer data is exactly where it needs to be to drive the business forward. Now there's a whole bunch of supporting roles that help a stewardship overall. We're talking about data analysts, data engineers, the business users, the people who actually use the data itself. Those business users are going to provide really key metrics and quality requirements and things around where do I find my data? Where do I go to the source of truth? Where do I go to these different warehouses to find data? They're going to tell these data stewards, these business process owners, these data owners how they use that data. And then therefore they can make sure that the data arrives where the business users are expecting it to be. This robust stewardship overall, they should be accountable for delivering the data or helping deliver the data in the expected business users' results, meaning I'm not paying a business user to do data analyst roles. I should have data analysts working with those business users so the business users themselves can concentrate on the role that they were hired to do. I see this a lot, especially in data scientists. Data scientists are also data analysts, data engineers, data scientists, data wranglers, all these other things. Let's actually separate out those different things into the respective areas that they should be, and then let each of those particular roles be very successful at the roles and responsibilities we hired them to do. All of these things have to happen in concert to really get the data where it needs to be. So again, in the last episode, we talked about the policy, standards, and procedures. Now, in this episode, episode 2, we're talking about the stewardship. These are the ones who are starting to enact those policy, standards, and procedures from a data governance perspective. These are the ones that's going to work with each individual area. A data analyst is going to work with a business data steward to help, hey, these are the insights, these are the definitions, these are where the data comes from, this is where we have to go to, all of these different things in order to be successful overall. So I talked a lot about a bunch of different roles, and hopefully you can go back in this episode and kind of pause and talk about the different things. I talked about, data analyst, data steward, business data steward, technical data steward, business process owner, data owner. You got data engineers. The data engineers are typically going to work with your technical data stewards to make sure that they build the pipelines and collect the information and store that data. And then obviously the chief data officer is going to be somebody who is, an executive that oversees all of these different things. So one thing and one important note to have, in a lot of organizations, it is a dream out there that they have designated data stewards as individual roles. Almost everywhere that I've worked in the past, a data steward has been doing this off the side of their desk. These have been other duties as assigned. In a perfect world, yes, we would have data stewards that are absolutely locked in and doing this role as their full-time role. But we have to be realistic where we are in the industry today. That is probably not a very large percentage. I could give you a random statistic, but I have no idea how much that would be. Everywhere I have been, that has not been the case. When I go to conferences and speak, I see a lot of different companies. They are very similar. They're doing these off the side of their desk with people who have, 20, 25% of the time. What I would say is, just like in episode 1, start small, act fast. Concentrate with some designated individuals. We can figure out what to call them later about making tangible impacts linked to business decisions. If you have a data quality issue, work with that particular area and those individuals who are data experts. And what you'll find is those data experts then could become data stewards. They could become business process owners. You'll start to find that naturally these roles start to shake out and say, oh, you're actually doing the role of a data steward. You're called something else, but you're doing the role of a data steward. You'll find this on your governance journey that these individuals are doing these responsibilities, but they're not called exactly what they are when we see it in our industry. Now, to an extent, everyone is a data steward, kinda, or at least have some sort of responsibilities as it relates to the entirety of the stewardship. Every employee does something with data. It's just kind of the way that the world works nowadays. So there's always going to be individuals you can reach out to find out, hey, how are you using this data? There are subject matter experts and data SMEs and data users everywhere. You can pretty much just wake up, get out of bed, and fall over one when you get your day started. So I would say one of the biggest recommendations I would make is keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, and really start to look and see who's using what. But again, make sure you're linking that specifically to business objectives, because then you'll start to have that snowball effect. You'll get one win, and all of a sudden your one win becomes two, two becomes four, four becomes eight, and you can kind of see where this goes. And then you can start to have really robust conversations as you go through your governance journey to say, hey, we really need some designated data stewards in our area. Now, as you build this network of stewards and these networks of business process owners and data custodians, and you really start to have a robust data stewardship, the network, we can now start to talk about something called the Data Governance Council, which will probably be in one of the episodes in the future. So if you like what you saw, hopefully you did. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. If you're checking this out on LinkedIn, hey, why not just send either a message, send a thumbs up, insight thing, a clap, a heart, whatever they do on LinkedIn. You can also subscribe on LinkedIn or connect or whatever they call it on LinkedIn. And I will see you next time for episode 3 of Data with Peachey.